So in 2006, I was sitting in my pew of my church wondering, is this what the Christian life is all about, or is there more to it? So I was searching for a mission trip, and I found myself looking, and I ended up finding a trip out of Moody Radio in the Quad Cities called Shoes for Orphan Souls. And before you know it, I found myself boarding a bus with 31 others, people who I had hardly met before, going on a mission trip to Romania. And halfway through that trip, I found myself really pretty down. And as I saw the hopelessness that these children in these orphanages were feeling, I was really wondering, we're really making a difference in the lives of these children. And then at the very end of the trip, it was the last orphanage we visited. It was called the Zao Orphanage in Zao de Campe, Romania. And it was a totally different feel at that orphanage. Hope was plentiful. It was like rays of sunshine down on this orphanage. And it really made me feel like, okay, now I understand that these children do have value and that we can help them. But it was towards the end of the trip when we had testimonies from many of the other people who went on that trip. I wasn't used to speaking in front of people very easily. So I got up quickly and shared a testimony and a little bit of a story that was on my heart. And then I sat down and I really started listening to others. People got up and gave powerful testimonies about what they saw, what they experienced, and tears were flowing, and the stories were just heart-wrenching of what they saw. And I sat there in my seat wondering, boy, what did I miss? Here I've been out here for 11 days and I had missed something very substantial. So I went back to my room that night and I prayed. I prayed for compassion. And it was amazing because suddenly my heart broke. I never really felt pain in my heart like I had at that moment. And I think it was God showing me how his heart feels towards these children. His heart is breaking for these children. He wants these children to be whole again also. Suddenly a sense of peace come over me. And while I didn't hear God's voice speak to me, I know he directed me to be the voice of these voiceless children. And of all the people on that mission trip, I probably would have been the last person that I thought he would have chose to help him. So I woke up that next morning full of excitement. So I went down and I talked with one of the ladies. Her name was Beth Bateman. At the time, she was one of the trip leaders. And I shared with her, and she thought I was crazy. And so she says, well, go and talk to Daci. Daci, who is now the president of Buckner, Romania. He was just the mission trip organizer at the time. So I went and talked with him, and he gave me some really good advice, saying take 2 weeks. He has a lot of people at the end of mission trips who feel called to do things. He says, Tim, go home, take 2 weeks off, and if you feel the same way, then give me a call. Well, I couldn't wait 2 weeks, so about a week later I called and said, Daci, this is something I really feel called to do. What can we do? So he told me the first thing they need to do is to raise $1,200. And I thought, that is something we can do. So my family and I, we started decorating Christmas ornaments, never thinking that the Oloffson family would be decorating Christmas ornaments to sell to help orphans. And suddenly people started buying them. We went out and we bought more, we decorated more, people kept buying them, and we ended up raising over $4,000 so that volunteers could go to the Zao Orphanage on a weekly basis and serve these children. The next thing I know, it was 2007, I put together a mission team for my church, and we went to do a VBS camp with the orphans in the Zao Orphanage. And to this day, we met some of the most wonderful girls at that camp, and we still have great relationships with those girls. But it was during that trip there was a pastor, Matt Dobbins, who really gave me a lot of encouragement to think big and to have a vision of what this could look like. So we started this Go There For Orphan ministry. It happened on a hotel, the roof of a hotel. And we just started talking about what ministry could look like. So Go There For was the precursor to Another Child Foundation. And then in 2009, I met John Frank Reeve. John Frank had been going to Romania since 2001. He had been working with orphans and with Fundacja Buckner also. So I decided to go down to Lafayette to meet John Frank. We went down there and we found out we had the same vision for these children. So we started putting the things together. A board of directors was put together, and in 2010, ACF was born. But there was another part of that story I wanted to share with you today. It was at the end of 2009. I was working at LCN Closers here in Princeton, Illinois. I had been working there for 28 years. The economy at this point in 2009 was pretty much at its lowest level. And so LCN was looking for 50 people to do an early out to retire, basically. And I was only 47 years old at that time. But I went to Teresa and I said, what do you think? Do you think this is an opportunity God is opening up for us? So I ended up talking to our board of directors. We hadn't even had a conversation about a full-time employee. But we started thinking, if we were ever going to do this ministry on a full-time basis, this could be our opportunity. I knew I wasn't going to need to be paid by another child for about 9 months because of the severance package I was getting. So one thing led to another, and suddenly it was Thursday night, and Teresa asked me, she goes, Tim, because I had to tell my employer on Friday, the next day. All this happened within 4 days. And she says, what do you think? And I said, Teresa, I just don't think this is the right time. We have a son that's in college. We have a daughter who's a senior in high school. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to quit a job of 28 years to go into ministry. And she says, Tim, we've been praying for this for the last 3 years. She says, I encourage you to go in and give your 2 weeks notice. The next day I went in, gave my 2 weeks notice, and really haven't looked back. So it's been 10 years of excitement. ACF has grown. We've met some wonderful people. We've met some great donors. We've helped a lot of people, and it's been fun. But I truly believe that the next 10 years are even going to be better.